You've probably noticed this before. Two people face the same situation. One reacts instantly, confidently, and gets it right. The other hesitates, overanalyzes, and ends up stuck. The difference isn't luck. It's speed, not the kind measured in seconds, but in neural efficiency. In today's world, slow thinking kills performance. You can't afford to pause while opportunities move past you. The real advantage isn't intelligence. It's the ability to think, decide, and act 3 times faster than everyone else, without losing accuracy. And the truth is, your brain already has the hardware for that. You just never learned to switch it on. The reason some people seem naturally fast is because their brain's decision circuits are synchronized. Specifically, the communication between 2 key regions, the prefrontal cortex, the logic and planning center, and the basal ganglia, the pattern and automation hub. When these 2 are out of sync, you think slowly, second-guess yourself, and lose time. When they're aligned, thought becomes flow. You recognize patterns instantly, predict outcomes, and respond without friction. So let's break down the code that elite performers use to activate what I call the cognitive turbo mode, a system that lets your brain process information up to 3 times faster while maintaining precision. The first step is understanding the enemy, cognitive latency. Every time you hesitate, your brain is wasting energy transferring information between regions that are out of rhythm. It's like having a high-end sports car with the handbrake slightly on. The friction is invisible, but it kills your acceleration. The fix starts with rhythm calibration. Neuroscience shows that fast, accurate thinking depends on brainwave synchronization, particularly in the beta and low gamma ranges. When the prefrontal cortex and basal ganglia oscillate together, your thoughts feel effortless and decisions emerge instantly. How do you trigger that? Through the focus sync code, a 2-minute neural warm-up that primes both systems before high-stakes thinking. Here's how it works. Step 1. Engage breath pacing to regulate your brain's electrical rhythm. Inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6, and do this 5 times. This slows the prefrontal cortex just enough to reduce noise and prepare it for synchronization. Step 2. Immediately perform a short sequence recall. For example, memorize 5 random numbers and repeat them backward. This activates the basal ganglia's working memory loops. Step 3. Visualize the exact outcome you're about to achieve. One single mental image, sharp and specific. Within 60 seconds, you've forced both regions into alignment. The result? Decisions feel automatic. Your brain switches from thinking mode to executing mode. That's cognitive speed, but let's go deeper. Why does this work? Because of predictive processing. Your brain doesn't actually react to the world. It predicts it milliseconds ahead. Elite decision makers, traders, athletes, special operators, all rely on this unconscious forecasting system. They're not faster because they move quicker. They're faster because their brains make fewer errors in prediction. The protocol here is simple. You train predictive accuracy by reducing cognitive noise. One of the fastest ways to do this is what I call the one-frame rule. When you're processing multiple options, your brain naturally simulates different futures, dozens of micro-scenarios per second. The one-frame rule means you consciously collapse that to one scenario, the most probable one. You literally say to yourself, if I could only bet on one outcome, which would it be? This forces the brain to commit resources to a single predictive model, tripling processing speed. Use this in negotiations, creative work, or decision-making under time pressure, and you'll feel the difference instantly. The next layer of mental speed lies in energy routing. Fast cognition is metabolically expensive. Your brain consumes nearly 20% of your body's total energy even at rest. When you overthink, that energy gets scattered across competing neural pathways. The fix is to create what neuroscientists call an energy funnel, a pattern of selective attention that channels fuel only into relevant circuits. Here's the protocol. Step 1. Define a single target. It could be a number, a sentence, or a goal, but it must be phrased as a direct command. For example, finish the outline in 15 minutes. Step 2. Eliminate all secondary sensory input for that duration. That means one tab, one screen, one sound environment. Step 3. Add mild physical tension. Tighten your forearm slightly or press your tongue gently against the roof of your mouth. This tiny motor activation engages the basal ganglia and locks the attention loop. The result? Every available watt of neural energy gets redirected into one cognitive lane. You'll notice not only faster thought but higher clarity. Now let's talk about mental friction, the hidden killer of speed. Friction appears when your prefrontal cortex tries to micromanage processes that should be automatic. Imagine typing each letter consciously instead of letting muscle memory handle it. That's what happens when you overanalyze every decision. The neural solution is delegation, transferring certain tasks to the basal ganglia so the prefrontal cortex can focus on high-level pattern recognition. You install this delegation through repetition under constraint. Pick a micro skill that normally slows you down. For instance, starting a conversation, structuring a pitch, or opening a new project. Now, repeat it 10 times but impose a strict time limit for each repetition, say 15 seconds. The time pressure forces your brain to bypass analysis and encode the motor sequence into the basal ganglia. Within minutes, the process becomes semi-automatic, freeing cognitive bandwidth for strategy instead of execution. High performers automate aggressively. The faster your brain can offload routine patterns, the more it can think strategically in real time. This is what separates quick thinkers from fast reactors. But cognitive speed isn't just about reacting fast, it's about sustaining that speed under load. And that's where neurochemistry comes in. The key player is norepinephrine, the neurotransmitter responsible for alertness and focus. Too little and you drift into sluggishness. Too much and your thoughts fragment. The optimal zone is narrow but trainable. You can regulate this chemical window through what's called dynamic arousal control. Step 1. Detect your current state. Are you mentally scattered or overly tense? If scattered, raise your arousal with a 30-second burst of physical intensity, jumping, pacing, or rapid deep breathing. If tense, lower it with slow diaphragmatic breathing and gaze stabilization, focusing your eyes on a fixed point. Within 90 seconds, you'll feel your mind enter what researchers call the optimal performance state, where thought speed peaks without loss of precision. This ability to self-regulate in real time is the ultimate performance amplifier because it lets you shift gears on demand. Next, let's decode the timing mechanism behind mental acceleration. Fast thinkers operate within compressed time windows, not because the world slows down for them, but because their brains perceive time differently. When the basal ganglia are fully engaged, they act as an internal metronome, speeding up perception and shortening feedback loops. You can train this through what's known as temporal chunking. Take any cognitive task, for instance analyzing data or writing ideas, and break it into micro chunks of 90 seconds each. Each chunk has a start signal and an end signal. The moment you hit start, the brain locks into temporal focus, knowing the finish is imminent. After several cycles, your internal clock recalibrates and you naturally process faster. Over time, you'll notice that what used to take 10 minutes now takes 3. That's neural acceleration through time compression. Finally, let's address the one variable that determines whether all this becomes permanent: recovery integration. Speed without recovery leads to system burnout. To maintain long-term cognitive velocity, your brain needs micro-recovery windows every 90 minutes. Not scrolling, not entertainment, genuine disengagement. The most efficient method is what neuroscientists call diffuse mode activation. Step away from focus entirely, look at a distant object, or take a brief walk while letting your mind wander freely. This allows neural circuits to reset synchronization and prepare for the next burst of high-speed processing. Think of it as a pit stop for your mind's engine. Neglect it, and performance will crash. Embrace it, and your cognitive turbo stays sustainable. The beauty of this system is that it doesn't rely on motivation or caffeine. It relies on precision control of your own neural machinery. When you synchronize rhythm, channel energy, delegate friction, regulate chemistry, compress time, and integrate recovery, you build a brain that runs at triple speed with zero loss of accuracy. This isn't theory. It's applied neuroscience, the same framework used by high-level operators, elite athletes, and peak-performing entrepreneurs. Your mind is hardware built for speed. It's time to install the right software. Now that you understand how the system works, let's install it step by step. The first phase is what I call the neural ignition stage. It's how you move your brain from idle to acceleration in under 1 minute. The goal is to switch from reactive mode to proactive mode, from waiting for input to generating output. You do this by creating deliberate mismatch. Here's what it means. The brain hates uncertainty, but it also thrives on it when you control the context. To start the ignition, you deliberately introduce a controlled burst of unpredictability. For example, switch the hand you usually use for your mouse or stand while you think. This small physical shift destabilizes the comfort loop in your sensory motor cortex. Within seconds, the prefrontal cortex compensates by amplifying attention and speed. It's like revving an engine before the race. You've just activated your neural ignition. The next phase is pattern compression. Fast thinkers aren't processing more data, they're chunking it more efficiently. Chunking means grouping information into meaningful blocks so your brain treats complex input as a single unit. To train this, pick a skill you use daily, like writing emails, evaluating projects, or reading data. Now, instead of focusing on details, force yourself to identify only the 3 most critical variables that predict the outcome. For example, when assessing a decision, think impact, risk, and reversibility. Once you limit variables, your brain automatically compresses patterns, removing noise. Over time, this becomes an instinct. You'll start to see the signal behind the noise faster than anyone else around you. The third phase is frictionless recall. Memory speed determines thought speed. The reason some people think slowly isn't intelligence. It's recall latency. Their brain stores information in scattered files, so they waste time retrieving it. You fix this with what I call associative tethering. Every time you learn something new, immediately attach it to 2 existing concepts, one abstract, one practical. For instance, if you learn a negotiation tactic, link it to a psychological bias and to a real situation where you'll use it. This creates 2 neural pathways to the same memory, cutting recall time in half. Do this consistently and your memory becomes indexed like a high-speed database. The fourth phase is decision velocity. This is where most people fail. They mistake overthinking for precision, when in reality, accuracy improves through speed. The reason is simple. Your first instinct is powered by pattern recognition, while overthinking is powered by fear of error. To accelerate decision velocity, you need the 2-move rule. The moment you face a choice, make your first decision within 5 seconds, then immediately make a second move that tests it. This second move transforms the decision from theory into feedback. Within moments, you either confirm or correct the path, and your brain builds real-time data on accuracy. High performers don't wait for clarity. They generate it through movement. That's why they appear decisive even when the path is uncertain. The fifth phase is neural layering. Think of it as installing extra RAM in your cognitive system. Most people process information linearly, one thought after another. Elite thinkers process in layers, multiple parallel thoughts that feed into a single decision. The technique to train this is dual focus mapping. When analyzing a situation, split your attention into 2 channels, logic and emotion. Ask yourself, what's the data saying and what's my intuition signaling? Then merge both streams into one actionable output. This cross-communication between hemispheres strengthens corpus callosum activity, the bridge connecting left and right brain, and dramatically speeds up synthesis. Within weeks of practice, you'll notice that your conclusions form faster and feel more complete. The 6th phase is environmental coding. Mental speed isn't just internal, it's contextual. The human brain adjusts its processing speed based on environmental cues. That's why fighter pilots train inside sensory-rich simulators, to teach the brain to process chaos calmly. You can replicate this effect by designing a speed priming environment. Before deep work or fast decisions, create microsignals that tell your brain it's time to accelerate. For example, use a specific sound frequency or lighting setup, or position your body in a certain posture you always associate with clarity. After repetition, these cues become neurological triggers. You enter cognitive turbo mode on command because your environment is coded for performance. The final phase is calibration. Even the fastest processors overheat. To maintain speed long-term, you need to calibrate regularly, meaning you reset your brain's internal metrics for time and pressure. One of the simplest methods comes from cognitive behavioral training, the 90-second rule of reset. When you catch yourself overanalyzing, take exactly 90 seconds to breathe slowly, expand your gaze, and mentally label what's happening. The short interruption restores prefrontal control, clears micro-fatigue, and allows decision speed to recover instantly. Fast thinking isn't about adrenaline, it's about synchronization. When the prefrontal cortex and basal ganglia are in rhythm, you experience what researchers call transient hypofrontality, a temporary downshift in conscious interference that allows deeper circuits to take over. This is the state behind genius-level flow and rapid insight. You can enter it deliberately using these 7 phases as your access protocol. Now, here's the deeper truth. In an age where information multiplies every second, thinking faster isn't optional, it's survival. The gap between fast and slow thinkers is no longer academic, it's economic. Slow thinkers get replaced by systems, fast thinkers design them. Every advancement, every breakthrough, every leadership move you admire came from someone who could process complexity at speed. The advantage is neurological, not external. You already have the machinery, you just need to train the operating system. Let's recap your installation sequence. Step 1. Neural ignition. Use controlled unpredictability to spark focus. Step 2. Pattern compression. Reduce variables to amplify clarity. Step 3. Frictionless recall. Attach every idea to 2 anchors. Step 4. Decision velocity. Apply the 2-move rule. Step 5. Neural layering. Merge logic and emotion in real time. Step 6. Environmental coding. Prime your surroundings for speed. Step 7. Calibration. Use 90-second resets to sustain momentum. Together, these create a neural architecture of velocity, thought that moves with the precision of instinct, but the depth of strategy. Practice these codes daily, and within weeks you'll notice what high performers describe as mental time dilation. Conversations slow down, complex problems become transparent. You see several moves ahead while others are still gathering information. That's the point when you realize you've crossed the threshold from reaction to command. You've installed the code of mental speed. You've become the type of thinker who doesn't chase clarity. You manufacture it in real time. And that's the real competitive edge in any domain. You don't need more hours, more caffeine, or more data. You need a faster mind, one calibrated for precision under speed. The brain you have is the ultimate instrument. This protocol is the tuning key. Apply it, master it, and watch how your results compound. And if you want to keep building your arsenal of mental codes for success, frameworks, protocols, and strategies designed to give you measurable advantage in the real world, make sure you subscribe to Success Code. Every week we break down a new piece of the system, another layer of your potential unlocked. Install the next code, accelerate your evolution, and stay ahead. Not someday, but today.